Everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It is about 5:30 p.m. on November 27th, 2012. We're going to look at the S&P 500. And again, today, no surprises. But before we get into it, I need to remind you that SP500chart.com and this video are for educational purposes only. I am not an investment professional. And you need to do your own research, and you need to invest money based upon your own financial position, your financial situation. Again, I'm not a licensed financial professional. I'm not even an unlicensed financial professional. Guys, I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts, and I draw a lot of them. is evidenced by what we're looking at right now. I hope these charts don't confuse you. I know there's a lot of information here, and it's stuff that, that's pretty well solidified in my head. And I may make the wrong assumption that you look at this and you know what all this means. Probably that is a wrong assumption. But these charts have evolved as I chart the S&P every day. And so, just bear with me. If you have any questions, drop me an email. It may be a day or so before I can get back to you, and I may not always be able to, but I try to make this as clear-cut as possible. And here's just a quick word of advice. If something in the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday videos doesn't make sense, go back to the weekly review that followed that week and see if maybe I mentioned something in there or point out something that puts it into perspective. Okay, here's what we're looking at. A very brief recap. The S&P had made a head and shoulders pattern that when my hotel internet service decides to bring the chart up. Come on, give me my chart. There we go. Not the quickest connection here. There's our left shoulder. Here's our head. The head actually starts here and ends here, but it's kind of crowned by this triple top. Interestingly enough, the last head and shoulders top the S&P had was this same general shape. The only difference is that it had a more complete right shoulder. So anyway, here's what we have. Here's our neckline from that head and shoulders pattern. We had a move yesterday. There was an attempt to get up to that neckline. We actually had an attempt on Friday of last week. Let's look at it on a 15-minute chart. Here we go. We had an attempt on Friday to get up to that neckline. It couldn't quite do it, came back down. At the end of the day on Monday, yesterday, another attempt to break that neckline. Couldn't do it. Today, another attempt to get over that neckline. Couldn't do it. And it looks to me like we may now be settling in for a back test of this broken resistance line from the descending channel that we identified, probably about a week and a half ago. So it looks to me like for right now, the S&P is likely to be range bound between the neckline of this little inverted head and shoulders pattern and the neckline of this larger standard head and shoulders top. Now, this is a larger pattern. The question is, will the larger head and shoulders top overrule or trump this smaller inverted head and shoulders? And one of the things we have to consider when asking ourselves that question is, did the larger head and shoulders top fulfill its minimum target? So if we measure that minimum target, and I'm being a little conservative here, and then we take it to the spot where it broke down, the answer would be it just barely missed. But guys, that may be good enough. A lot of times these tops and bottoms will have a minimum target that is very, 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 that in retrospect ends up being way minimum to what the actual move was. Okay, in other words, sometimes you'll have a Head and Shoulders top that has maybe a 3% swing as the implied target, but you end up with a 50% swing. That's almost, well, it wasn't a 3%, but the major Head and Shoulders top we had in 2007, it didn't say anything near 666. Its target was maybe, I don't know, I'm going by memory here, maybe 90, 100 points deep, and it just went through that and then kept on. So when you talk about minimum targets, you have to realize that's a minimum target. That is the minimum expectation. But the reason it's the minimum expectation is because chartists over the decades and centuries have noticed that sometimes it goes down to that mark and then it bounces back up. But you can expect it to go down to that mark. So we pretty much made that. So what I would say at this point is, I would expect this inverted Head and Shoulders to probably do what it's supposed to do. The top one did what it was supposed to do. Let's see if the bottom one, if this bottom does. But if it does, I don't think it's going to be a major swing. Because if it gets up to this level, up here at about 1436, then that will mean that there is likely to be another test of this level at 1436 that was tested twice in earlier November. So what am I saying? Well, for what we're looking at in the short term, I would look at this level down here, the neckline of this pattern, to serve as support, and the neckline of the larger Head and Shoulders pattern to still look for resistance there. But I think eventually this one will break. I really do. I think the market looks poised to head up again to this level. And once it gets up there, I would expect this to be resistance. So we're dealing with two resistance levels, one at about 1407, 1408, and then another one at about 1436. But we're looking at one, what I think should be pretty strong support level, and that is down here, this neckline of this smaller inverted Head and Shoulders pattern, and it is currently at about 1392, 1393. So if we sell off 5-6 points tomorrow, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. If we didn't bounce here, then that would kind of surprise me. I would expect a bounce here because we've got both this neckline plus the support that this descending resistance line should now provide, now that we are over it and have been over it for 2 days. So guys, that's the video for today. I hope you got something out of it. I want to thank you for your time and for your patience with me yesterday. I'm going to upload this video and hope we don't encounter any uploading errors as I did yesterday. So look, take care. Thanks again for watching.